Tom Carrot from Nesson. We thank you for joining us. This Red Sox Town Hall conversation presented by MasterCard. MasterCard is offering priceless experiences you can enjoy at home. Visit priceless.com to learn more. We have had this town hall as an annual event to sort of jumpstart spring training just around the corner. We've done it in person the last, 6 years at Winter Weekend. Prior to that, we had it in different states throughout New England. Now we come to you from Fenway Park, socially distanced. I am joined by this great panel to talk about the upcoming season. We've got Chief Baseball Officer Chaim Bloom to my right. Chaim, how are you?
Doing all right.
We have Sam Kennedy, President and CEO. To my further right, Sam, how are you tonight?
I'm great. This is no MGM Springfield, but it'll have to do.
And joining us, flexing in front of the palm trees, showing off, the manager of the Red Sox, Alex Cora. AC, how you doing?
I'm good. Happy to be with you guys.
He did not do any shoveling this week. Sam, a couple opening comments. We begin with you. I think a lot of people were wondering when spring training would begin, when the season would begin. We are sitting here now less than 2 weeks from the start of spring training. Can you sort of take us into the preparations and where Major League Baseball stands as far as getting this season off on time?
Yeah, well, we're planning for on time, which would be reporting on February 17th and opening day at Fenway Park on April 1st. Although the word of the year, I think, has been flexibility. We are waiting for Major League Baseball and the Players Association to finalize the health and safety protocols, which are obviously critically important. So as soon as we get those nailed down, Chaim and his team will be headed south to go meet AC and the group, and we're excited to get going. It's been a long off season and really looking forward to the 2021 baseball season.
First Grapefruit League game, the 27th. At this point, the expectation is fans in the stands.
Yeah, it is. We're all set to go down in Lee County. We should have about 20 to 25% capacity, socially distanced pods. Thanks in advance for everyone's understanding and patience with us down there. It'll be a new experience, but it will be great to have fans in the stands at JetBlue Park down in Florida to get us going. And it'll be, if anyone has any questions on how to get tickets and season ticket holders, you can work with your account reps down there. Information on redsox.com. And thanks in advance for your patience, because this is new for all of us.
And real quickly, and we'll get into this a little more when we get to questions, but what about Fenway in April? What are the hopes for fans as far as that goes?
Yeah, well, we'd love to host fans if the health and safety experts up here and our government officials say it's okay. And we have a plan in place to host fans in a socially distanced environment with all sorts of requirements for masks and hand sanitizing and things like that. And we've seen it around the country work successfully at different venues. So we're hoping to have that, but we have not engaged with the state of Massachusetts or the city of Boston. We wanted to be respectful to the vaccination process that's going on and wait on that. But hopefully we'll have more news to come in the coming days ahead.
Chaim, you get the easy part. You get to talk baseball a little bit.
Sounds good.
It's been a busy week as far as announcing some of the new players. Talk a little about the construction of the team, how this offseason has gone as far as what you had hoped to accomplish, and how close, I know you're never done, but how close are you to being where you want to be for the start of spring training?
Yeah, well, look, obviously 2020, just about everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And we know that the talent that we have in this group is a lot better than what our record was in 2020, and that there's no reason that the talent that we have on this club can't compete. But we also know that just being competitive is not the end goal. The end goal for this organization should always be contending for a championship every single year and getting to that point where we feel like we are well equipped to do it. And that's not something that happens overnight. And so we want to make sure whatever we did this offseason, we're taking steps towards that ultimate goal while also making sure we're doing everything we can to compete and win along the way there. So we had a number of goals that we came into the offseason looking to address. We knew it was going to take bringing in a number of different players, doing a number of different things with our roster, a lot of different possibilities. Adding depth is huge for us. Adding versatility, just making sure that we have a roster that can withstand the ups and downs of the season, and then giving ourselves the upside, as we add these guys for for them not just to be contributors in the moment, but to also do something that brings us value beyond just 2021 as we build towards that goal of contending for championships every year.
I would assume we've got to be near a record number of free agents still out there for this close to spring training, inside of 2 weeks. Are there still opportunities out there, do you think, whether it's you or other organizations that are going to be able to maybe land a player that they didn't think they'd be able to get this late in the season?
Yeah, no question there's still plenty of guys out there. I mean, the baseball offseason, much to the chagrin of all of our spouses and partners and friends, has been taking longer and longer every year. And this year, I think, even more so, just because of all the effects and the uncertainty created from the pandemic and some of the uncertainty that you and Sam were just talking about. There's more unresolved business than usual this time of year. So sometimes that can create opportunity. So we're really, if anything, I think the pace has only picked up from where it was in January, and we're making sure that we've got our finger on the pulse of everything that's going on.
All right, let's go down to sunny Puerto Rico. Alex, we talked about the construction of the team. You're less than 2 weeks now from pitchers and catchers reporting. How do you feel about the makeup of the team you have right now?
We have a good baseball team, and good baseball teams win a lot of games. We're versatile, athletic, deeper than actually 19. I go back to 19. I thought we were short last year. Obviously, it was a tough season for the organization, and I do believe that going into the spring training, we have a lot of options. It's getting to that point that you start, looking at lineups and different combinations, and the fact that we got guys that can do different things. They can hit in different spots in the lineup. They can run the bases, and it's a better team. I think a team that is capable of, competing to play in October. And for all the talk about the division, how other teams are strong and they're getting better, I do believe that our team is going to compete. We're going to be in a good position, and hopefully we have a good season.
All right, let's get to it. The great thing about Town Hall every year is where you get to ask questions, and they've been pouring in all day from season ticket holders. So we begin in Manchester, Mass. Tom is a season ticket holder since 2006. From your perspectives, what went wrong last season, and how are you addressing those things to get back to competing this season? You kind of touched on that, Chaim, but maybe you start off.
Yeah, a lot of different things went wrong. Obviously, I don't need to tell anybody who's watching this that you all saw it, but a big part of it was that the nature of last season, and then some sort of misfortune on top of that, really came after what might have been our greatest weakness, which is depth. We have frontline talent that matches up with anybody in baseball. We know that. Where we suffered was when we had injuries, when we had players who were unavailable, and of course the virus hit us hard and took out a number of our lefties early, and obviously in Eddie's case we didn't get him back. We did not have guys that could step in and perform the way we needed. So that was a big priority of ours coming into the offseason. And that requires multiple players. It requires players who can do a lot of different things. And that has to come from everywhere. It has to come from within the system, and we think it can, seeing what Tanner Houck did at the end of the year. It can come from the trade market, where we picked up Nick Pivetta last year, and we think he's ready to contribute. We took a shot in the Rule 5 on Garrett Whitlock, who we like the upside there long term, but we also think he's got a chance to come in and step in as a player who came up in the organization as a starter. And contribute, and then through free agency with some of the pitching that we've added, including someone versatile like Matt Andrees, and then obviously the starting pitching we brought in with a guy like Garrett Richards. So it really has to come from everywhere. If you want to have sufficient depth to get through the longest season, and baseball is the longest season, then that needs to come from everywhere. So we've tried to focus on all avenues of talent acquisition to beef up our depth this winter.
Alex, maybe ask you as a follow-up. You said something interesting when you held your press conference that you were coming back, that you thought the game kind of has gotten faster and that the team needs to do a better job adjusting to that. Can you expound on that? What did you mean by that?
Yeah, it's not that we're gonna start stealing bases like the Cardinals in the '80s. We're not gonna start doing that. But scoring from first, scoring with base singles from second, defensively, I feel we need to be better. And this is a topic that it's not only 2020. In 2019, I think defensively we didn't do a good job. I felt we were slow from the get-go, and it stayed that way. So, one step ahead of plays, and that first step is a key to be a good defensive player. And we're working with Rafi, we're working with Xander. Obviously, we brought a good defender on Enrique Hernandez that, he can play above average defense at second, at center. He's a good shortstop, and he's very versatile. And that's what I mean. Obviously, I like to press the action, but I also like the 3-run homer, so we just got to create balance. But for us to be better, that's something we're going to be preaching in spring training. Actually, we've been talking about it the whole offseason to our players, and expect that. Expect a team that is going to be a little bit quicker, more athletic than last year, and hopefully that's the key for us to win a lot of ball games.
Great stuff. Let's go back to the season ticket holders. Eric in Hull, Massachusetts, season ticket holder since 2019. His question concerns the pitching staff. Is the rehab of Chris Sale going well? And is Nathan Eovaldi going to be pitch count restricted so he can pitch deep into the season? Start with Chris Sale. What's the latest?
Yeah, big picture, Chris's rehab, from the Tommy John is going great. He did have a little setback with his neck. It's actually unrelated to the Tommy John rehab, but he had some stiffness in his neck where we don't expect this to be a long-term concern. But we had to back off of his throwing just to make sure we're taking care of his arm. And he's going to get treatment going forward to make sure it doesn't recur. So that's really more just a calendar thing. It just set us back in terms of time. His arm has done great. So far everything with the Tommy John rehab has gone great. And then the other part of the question was about
Nathan Eovaldi. What kind of restrictions will there be on him going?
Yeah, we've had conversations, AC and I with Bushy and a number of people on our staff about, what to do with our pitchers coming off of an abbreviated season. And it's really not just Nate. And we know Nate's history. We want to make sure we're taking care of him. But we have this issue with Eduardo Rodriguez coming off of no season. And pitchers who, for various reasons, again, everybody, even if you were fully healthy, you played 37% of a season. How are we going to handle that? So we need to make sure we take care of these guys. That's another reason to have depth. That's another reason to have guys who can give you multiple innings out of the pen. So it's fair to say that we're going to be monitoring everybody's workload. Fair to say we're going to be on the more conservative side compared to a normal season. But we also want to make sure that we don't take these guys out of a routine and a rhythm that they've trained their whole lives to do.
It's questions we've gotten from a lot of season ticket holders, and Sam, will bring you back in on this. You talk about uncertainty, right? There's an uncertainty right there. The number of innings, the progression for young pitchers who maybe were in the alternate site for some or all of last season. From a business perspective, how difficult has it been to plan for a season like this when there is so much uncertainty on the field and in the front office?
Yeah, obviously it's been a challenge. I think like all businesses that are interfacing with customers and are in the retail space with people coming and going, gathering in public, it's been a huge challenge. And I would just say that as I listen to Chaim speak and Alex talk, I'm struck that one of the biggest pieces of uncertainty was not having fans at the ballpark last year, and Alex wasn't there either. And his return to the dugout, the energy that he brings, the energy that our fans bring, whether it's 5,000 fans, 10,000 fans to start, that's going to make a big difference. It's always been a competitive advantage for us here in Boston, the energy that comes from Fenway Park, from that dugout. We were missing it last year, and look, we were out of sync. Baseball is a game of rhythm, momentum, habit, certainty, as you say. So it's been a terribly uncertain year. We're still going to battle through it in 2021, as the whole industry will, but the light at the end of the tunnel is there. Things are improving. We're vaccinating 500 people a day downstairs, maybe up to 1,000, 1,500 next week. So we're getting there. The tide is turning, and I think we're going to see the brand of Red Sox baseball that we've all been used to. And the market has now seen why we brought Chaim Bloom to Boston, working nonstop to improve this club. Flurry of activity the last couple weeks, and maybe more to come. We'll see what happens here. As he says, there's never a day off for our baseball operations group and what they're doing. So we're excited about the season and ready to get going.
Alex, Chaim talked about pitching and how you get those guys ramped back up. 2 years ago, you came under some criticism for a perceived lack of work for the pitchers at spring training. Now that might have to be the model going into this season because guys are going to have to be ramped up slowly. How different is this spring going to be for your pitchers?
You know what? It's going to be different, of course, but at the same time, talking to Brad Pearson, who does an outstanding job running our medical program, we've been talking for a while, like Chaim said, and we don't know. We really don't know where we're going into the season. One thing for sure, our guys have done an amazing job in the offseason, going through the progression, going into spring training. They're going to be ready to go. We will be careful. We were careful in 18. We were careful in 19. I know the guys were careful with them in 20, and that's the case. It's 162 games, and we got to take care of them. April might be different than May, and that's the way we're gonna approach it. But I think we have a deep pitching staff, deeper than my first 2 years as a manager, and that's the blessing for the manager. We can be creative, we can be smart, taking care of people, and I think we're going to be in good shape starting the season with all the guys that we have.
Let's go back to the season ticket holders for the next question. Steve from Watertown, a season ticket holder since 1988, says, what have you done about shoring up the starting rotation? You mentioned some of the names, but Steve says we've seen several other higher marquee free agent names go to other teams. Have the Red Sox had interest along the way in those pitchers?
Yeah, and look, obviously there's only so many spots, so you're not going to sign all the free agents. But one thing that we have focused on this winter is I think when you're looking at the time and the place to really go big in the free agent market, which to this point in the offseason, obviously, although we're thrilled with the guys we brought in, we haven't done that. I think you want to do it when you're really you're looking at yourself further down the path to being that sustainable championship contender than we are. That doesn't mean that we can't compete, but when you enter into those commitments, you're paying for performance, but you're not necessarily paying for certainty. There's risk you're taking on too, and sometimes there's consequences down the road with that. So what you don't want to be is hamstrung when it really comes time to push some chips in because of some commitments you made earlier. That is, to some degree, the position we're in now. And look, it worked. All my teammates have rings here because of it. But you want to make sure you're flexible enough that you can take advantage of those great opportunities when it's really the right time for them.
Talk about sustainability. Sam, you've been here through the championships, through the last places. And obviously no one's suggesting you should be in third place every year. That's not the goal. But the highs and lows that you're trying to even out, and as Chaim has said, make it a team that won't only be better this year, but will be a sustainable contender. How important is that, and how vital was that in the hiring of Chaim and really in setting the long-term projections for this team over the next few years?
Yeah, it was critical in bringing Chaim in and bringing AC back. I mean, this is a wrecking crew in the American League East in terms of baseball operations with no respect to our competitors. No, I'm just kidding. With all due respect, especially to Chaim's old club. Look, we've got the best men and women in baseball operations. I would put them up against any organization in baseball. The leadership in that dugout goes without saying. And, it's interesting. If you go back 20 years, if we would have been talking about sustainable championship baseball, winning championships 5, 6, and 7, people would have said, you need to have your head examined. What are you talking about? So we, as Bostonians, as people who grew up here, we have to realize the era that we've lived through these past 20 years have been so remarkable. And the gold standard has been set by the Kraft family, by the Celtics, the Bruins, by the Henry Werner ownership group. We expect championships, and we should. So now we're in a position where we have a competitive team, we think, in 2021, a chance to be really, really good in the American League East, hopefully get to October and surprise people. But we are looking for a sustainable model. That was something that was very important to Chaim in the interview process. He wanted to make sure that we were committed to building this thing the right way for the long term. And we are, and that's what you've seen this off-season. It's what you've seen since Chaim's been here. And I think he said it well. We want that 5th championship, but we want the 6th, 7th, and 8th right behind it. We don't want to take a 3-4 year absence and have these sort of ups and downs, which we've had over the last 2 decades. Although they've been very enjoyable, peaks and valleys, we're looking for a more sustained approach as we go forward with these 2 guys at the helm.
It is amazing, though, isn't it? A region that once sat through 86 years, now 2-3 years is a lifetime.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's interesting because, I know, hearing about that, obviously, and you hear about today, you also hear about the long term, and there's parts of that are a little unsatisfying, right? Because we want everything to be great right now. But the way I look at it, and the way I hope our fans will look at it, is it's setting the bar really, really high. It's making sure, not that we want to win today, but we want to look to tomorrow and say, you know what, we can do this again, and then we can do this again the next year. And that's really hard to do. But that should be the goal here. That should be the goal for any organization, but certainly for an organization like this. And you know what, things are going to happen along the way. There's obviously potholes that you don't always plan for, but we should be aiming for that. And it's harder because you have to worry about today and tomorrow at the same time, but there's no reason we shouldn't set our sights that high. We have the people to do it, and we've got the organizational backing to do it.
You need good young talent to do that. To continue, our next question, Mike from Alston, Mass., a season ticket holder since 2015. And Alex, we'll start with you on this one. What younger player, give us a couple of younger names that maybe fans aren't talking about much, that season ticket holders should be excited to see this year and in the next couple of seasons?
Well, I tell you one right now who's actually doing an outstanding job in Winter Bowl, and he's putting the show in the Caribbean Series, Jaron Duran. This kid came down here to work with Ramon Vasquez and get his repetitions. And, he didn't have a great season, but all the feedback, not only from the Ramon's coaching staff, but the coaching staffs around the league, his work ethic, athleticism, the way he approaches the game, and that's awesome to hear. It's a testament of player development, the way that we do things, and I'm very proud of him. Now in the Caribbean Series, he's hitting the ball out of the ballpark. Actually, like half hour ago, hit a single up the middle, jogged to first, and then sprinted to second, and that's the way you play the game. So I'm very excited to see Jaron in the upcoming years and see how he can help us win some ball games.
And one thing, Chaim, have you follow up? We talked about this the other day when the Ottavino deal was announced, the player that came with him. Some of the young guys, you got, Pivetta, who maybe from that deal last year we got to see already, but Connor Siebold behind him. A lot of these deals you can see in a tangible way the immediate maybe help and the longer term help. Has that been an important part of some of these deals?
Yeah, ideally, every move that we make, you'd ideally like to check both boxes. And that was one of the reasons that we were excited to add Adam Ottavino, is because that was a trade that allowed us to check both boxes. We add an established veteran reliever who we think can really help us, especially in this division where you have to cut through some really good right-handed heavy lineups, including one for the team that he was playing for. And then we were able to add a piece for the future. And building a robust farm system that is sustainable, that has enough not just to help your team, but also to give you currency to go get things you don't have, that's not just about who's in Baseball America's top 100. That's about building it 30, 40, 50, 60 deep, because you don't necessarily know where that talent comes from. No one knew who Jaron Duran was when he was drafted in the 7th round. He was an infielder at that time. But now people are starting to get to know him. And we have to give ourselves and our player development staff as many chances as possible by just bringing in as much talent, whether it's someone that everybody's heard of or somebody that nobody has heard of, but that our people see something in. And if we do that over and over again, we're going to start coming up with players on a consistent basis.
All right, you're watching the Red Sox Town Hall. A lot of questions from a lot of fans. Sam, we'll bring you back in. Brian from Woburn, Mass., a season ticket holder since 1984. Says, what is the plan for fans in the stands? You kind of touched on it at the beginning, but maybe you can expound a little more on what the hope is as this season goes along.
Yeah, we've actually worked very closely with the state of Massachusetts. They established a reopening advisory board all the way back in the summer as we were trying to figure out, or the state was trying to figure out how to get the economy going again. And so we've had a plan that we think works to have a socially distanced environment to start. Outdoor transmission rates are low, as we all know, and the protocols have worked in other states. So we will be in touch with the state as soon as things calm down a little bit with respect to getting the vaccination process rolled out, and then we will be in touch shortly thereafter with our season ticket holders. It is our sincere hope to have fans back at Fenway as early as opening day. We're cautiously optimistic, but again, that is not our decision. That decision must be made by medical community, the health experts, Charlie Baker, Karen Polito, Secretary Sutters, who was here yesterday. So we will follow their lead and their guidance, and we're also working closely with Cam Neely over at the Bruins, Amy Latimer at the Garden, Jim Nolan at the Patriots, just to make sure we're sharing best practices, working closely with Major League Baseball to make sure that we have the protocols in place that we need. So we're looking forward to that, and we'll be in touch as soon as humanly possible with all of our season ticket holders. So thanks. It's Brian, right, from Woburn. Thank you, Brian, for your loyalty and support. You've been through a lot here since the early 80s. You've seen it all, and hopefully there'll be more action and the ability to come to Fenway as soon as humanly possible.
Got another one for you which follows up on that. Joel from Linfield, Mass. 1981, he's had his season tickets since. What is the likelihood of a full 162 game schedule? And at this point, we talked about this earlier, but what is the likelihood everything will start on time?
Yeah, we're hoping to get going as soon as humanly possible. Right now we're planning for that 162 game schedule, barring any changes from the Players Association or Major League Baseball. We hate to sort of cop out, but we are just sort of following orders when it comes to the league's rules and regulations and the state of Massachusetts rules and regulations. But there's a much bigger picture here. We are operating in a global pandemic. People are suffering, and there's more important things than getting a baseball season underway, although there's nothing more important to the three guys that you're talking to here on this show. But we'll be, I think we'll be in good shape with more information in the coming days, because obviously we're getting close now to report date.
There aren't many days left.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Dustin Pedroia this week announcing his retirement. Obviously big news. As that came down, not completely unexpected, and yet you stop and look back on the totality of his career in Boston. Ashley from Ipswich, Mass., 2 years as a season ticket holder. And Alex, we'll begin with you here. How is Dustin Pedroia's retirement and not having him around the clubhouse going to affect the team? Will he still be a presence around this group at all?
He'll be FaceTiming a lot of people. We know that, so. He's still going to be a presence, obviously, with everything that is going on. Whenever we get him back, that Fenway is going to be a fun day. And, he will always be welcome. Nonstop texting, calling people, helping players out. He's going to be a big part of what we are trying to accomplish, not only this year, but the upcoming years. The fact that he said he's planning on managing in 10 years is actually good, so I can start planning ahead of time, with my family, so we can retire and enjoy PD managing. But no, all kidding aside, this guy, as you know, the last 2 years, 3 years, he's been very important to the program, and that's not going to change.
Chaim, Ashley asked about his presence. Is there any conversation yet, or is it too soon to talk about him having some sort of role with baseball operations?
It's still early, and as he said, really eloquently in his press conference, he's going to prioritize family and especially those three boys right now. But he knows, this is something we actually, as we were, navigating this retirement, we started the conversation with him. And he knows we want him to be involved, and it's really a question of figuring out what works for him, in a way that's going to be really productive for the organization. But I tell you what, if you didn't get a chance, and I don't know if hopefully the video is available somewhere, if you didn't get a chance to watch his press conference, go watch it. It's something, I was watching this and I said every young player who comes into our organization should watch this and just see how he talks about how he got after his craft. And that's what we want from every young player, the things he cares about about preparing, about working hard, about being the best teammate, and about winning. And that's really what it's all about.
You've got those quotes in the clubhouse at JetBlue Park, and the "I played every game as though it were my last" is going to go up there at some point. It's right there. Follow-up question for you, Sam. Dan from Newtown, Mass. Newton, Mass. Season ticket holder since 1988. Will there be some sort of Dustin Pedroia day at Fenway this season? If so, could you please tell Dan when it will be so he can make sure he keeps his tickets for that game?
Well, I was talking to Petey, and he said, "Isn't every day Dustin Pedroia day at Fenway?" No, I actually just made that up, but that is something he would
if you
say.
asked him. Yeah.
Yeah, we will absolutely appropriately celebrate Petey but we have to do it when we've got a packed house, or at least have some fans back, because he deserves that, and I know the fans want to see him. And I just would echo exactly what Chaim said. What an incredible role model, spokesperson, someone you want to try and emulate. I mean, if you have a young person playing any sport, the work ethic and the commitment and the passion, it's hard. You can't teach that. He was an original, such an important part of everything that's gone on here the past 20 years, and really looking forward to the day when we can welcome into the organization in some capacity. But I don't think it will be for a while. I think he really wants to be home and be with his family, and he is privileged to be in a position to do that. So we'll be patient, and AC, you can keep the seat warm for him, right, for the next couple of years anyway.
So AC, you got 10 years, AC. How many championships can you bring us in 10 years?
I don't know. We're about to find out.
Stay tuned.
Talking about future roles, Thomas from Shrewsbury, Mass., a season ticket holder since 1988, out by the Woo Sox now. What changes might you expect and/or would you like to see in the game with the hiring of Theo Epstein as part of the front office? So, interesting role and interesting comments from Theo when he took that role. Maybe you can both speak to that a little bit, Sam, starting with you.
Yeah, well, it was a great day for Major League Baseball when Theo joined as a special assistant consultant to Commissioner Rob Manfred. I think it's a great move by Rob Manfred and good for the game. I know he's working closely with the competition committee on-field matters, going to work with Raul Ibanez and Mike Hill and people like Chaim that he really respects and admires throughout the game. We've been at this for a while, and what we hear from our fans is really, obviously we all recognize and appreciate that baseball is the best game ever invented. It is. We all love the game. We love the sport. We love it as it is, but it can be improved, I think, with some small tweaks and twists that could really help related to the pace of the game. A pitcher getting the ball and throwing the ball, for example, within a shorter period of time, I think would help keep things moving along. Lessening dead time between at-bats, pitching changes, just trying to get back to maybe a 2-hour and 45-minute average game as opposed to 3 hours and 8 minutes would really, really help. So I think if we can keep the pace of the game moving along, I think that will really help.
Interesting comments about the increased use of analytics, the way building teams has changed over the years. You're still in the trenches. You don't have the luxury of saying, well, no, we'll stop doing this for the good of the game. You have to build a team that will win. But when Theo says that, and you can pull yourself back a little bit and look at it from 30,000 feet, is there a belief that there is a way to maybe get this back to a point where there are more balls put in play, there is more action happening on the field?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's spot on. I would guess most people in positions like mine will tell you that. But it's really a collective action problem because it's not something where any team wants to unilaterally disarm just for the sake of having a prettier product. We're okay winning ugly. The job is to win. But it's not something that's going to solve itself at the team level. It's nobody's fault. Everybody's just trying to be the best they can within the rules. But I think what we've seen in baseball, and I'm probably speaking a little out of school talking about other sports that I don't know as much about, but it seems to me you look at football, you look at basketball, where some of the innovations that have come into those games in terms of gameplay from teams trying to win have created a more exciting product. That has not necessarily happened in baseball. A lot of the things that teams have done to get their players better and to win have probably slowed the game down. They've led to fewer balls in play, more walks and more strikeouts. Walks and strikeouts take pitches, so they take time. And that's only going to be corrected at the league level. And it really helps to have someone like Theo, who is obviously talented, but also has walked in our shoes and understands a lot of the different things tugging on us on every given day. And so for him to be able to tackle this problem, and I think every team is going to be willing to help him, if we can solve some of these things at the league level, we can get the product where we want it to be.
It's interesting you talk about the other sports, right? A lot of that was legislated, and the three-point line creates a different brand of NBA basketball. The no two-line pass opens things up when there was clutching and grabbing in hockey. You can't touch the quarterback now, we know that. So all these rule changes have come into place.
Only
Alex,
you clutch and grab on the ice.
Remember, well, I've seen you clutch and grab on the ice. Alex, the rule changes we saw last year, and we haven't gotten official word of which will stay this year, but you were watching those games. What did you think? Whether it was the man on base in the extra innings, the 7-inning doubleheaders, the I don't want to ask about the 3-batter minimum for the pitcher because I know managers hate that. But what do you think about some of the rule changes and where the game is going with those?
I thought the extra inning rule was great. I experienced it in the WBC in 2017. I thought it was exciting. You know, it's exciting for the fans. I really liked it. The 7-inning games were amazing, the doubleheaders. You know, as far as like managing the game and the tactics and the way you use your lineup, you got to be spot on from the get-go. And I do believe the pace of the game was different, actually, in those 7-inning games than the 9-inning games. So, you know, it was actually fun to watch those games, so I'm all for it.
About questions multiple people asked. Obviously, the AL East has gotten that much tougher. We know about the Yankees. The Blue Jays are loading up. We know about your old team, the Rays. But we'll start with you, Chaim. This division didn't get any easier this offseason, did it?
It never does. I've spent basically my whole career in the AL East, and to me, year in, year out, it's the toughest division in professional sports. But wouldn't have it any other way. You know, if you're a competitor, you want to take on the toughest challenges, and you just get used to not catching a break from the schedule, not catching a break from your opponents. And at the end of the day, you know, you can either complain about it or you can figure out just how to be better and how to be good enough to get to the top of the heap, which this organization has done many times. So, you know, that's just the challenge in front of us, and it makes it that much more satisfying when you accomplish it.
AC, when you played here, it was always Red Sox, Yankees, and all of a sudden the Rays were coming into the mix out of nowhere. Now it seems it's always 3-4 teams deep. This is no longer a 2-team division, no matter who those 2 teams might be.
Yeah, and it's a testament to the front offices and ownership. You know, every team in this division, they have their plan, you know, including the Baltimore Orioles. You know, they have their plan that is probably going to pay off in 3 or 4 years. So I love to compete in this division. I understand how hard it is, but just like Chaim said, you know, we can't complain about it. We just got to get better, you know, and keep playing the way we are capable of doing. We show up every day and play hard and see what happens at the end. But, you know, every team in this division is very competitive. And we know now about the Jays, the Yankees, and the Rays. But, you know, we also have a good team, and we're prepared for the challenge. And, you know, I'm very excited about 2021 and see where it's going to take us.
Speaking of the division, this guy pulled off a trade with the Yankees. So we thought that was not allowed to happen. Larry Lucchino would not have allowed that to happen, Sam. What was the reaction to that when that was going down?
I thought Chaim picked Brian Cashman's pocket. I mean, I don't no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's my old team, right? My old going way back. You talked about Chaim's old team. I actually think it's great to make a trade in the division. It's exciting for the fans. It's exciting for us. It's exciting for the guys in the clubhouse and the player we got. Obviously, 2 players, and the major league player we got is going to contribute mightily to the 2021 Boston Red Sox. So I think it's a good thing. I think you've seen a willingness with Chaim and BOH and Raquel and Eddie and the crew to really consider just about every option out there to improve the club, as Chaim said, short-term and long-term. That's a hard thing to do, and so they've considered all options, and this year it included a trade with the Yankees, and we'll see. It'll be fun when those guys come to town, and we can watch these 2 give each other some grief when Cash gets to the ballpark.
Picked Cashman's pocket. That'll be the quote that comes away from this show.
Why not?
Don't put that quote on me against
That one will not be at the JetBlue clubhouse. I promise you that. The Red Sox server almost went down with questions about Jackie Bradley Jr. Obviously, he's still out there. Can you just talk us through where things stand?
Yeah, you talked about the pace of the offseason. In his case, there were obviously free agents that their situations resolved really early on, and then some guys kind of in the middle, and some of these guys it's taking longer. And thus far this winter, that's been the case with Jackie, and we've stayed in touch the entire time. Look, obviously, getting to free agency, having the right, really for the first time in his adult life, to pick his employer and do what he feels is the best for his career and his family, that's a really important right and well earned on Jackie's part. So we know he's going to consider that thoughtfully as he would everything. And we also obviously need to look at a lot of different things too. But we've stayed in touch with him the whole time. Would love to have him back. Obviously, it has to make sense for us short and long term, and it has to make sense for him. Emotionally speaking, I hope it ends up making sense. But no idea yet when that will resolve. Obviously, we are approaching spring training, but there hasn't been a resolution yet.
And I've got a follow-up for you. A lot of questions about the hot stove this year being very slow to heat up, but really the last 4 or 5 years, it seems we've been talking a lot about this. And some people have suggested there should be deadlines or there should be things that move in. We talk about legislating action on the field. Does baseball need to legislate some action in the offseason to get some of this to happen sooner?
I wouldn't mind it from a personal life perspective, I can tell you that. It's tough because a lot of the time when you put in rules and you try to legislate something, look, the industry we have right now, you have 30 very smart, very competitive actors who are going to do anything they can within the rules to make things happen that they feel is in their interest. So weird things can happen sometimes when you think it's kind of like whack-a-mole. You might think you have a rule that solved a problem and it creates another problem, but it's something we should think about. I don't think anybody, it's very similar to what we talked to on the field. I don't think anybody necessarily wants this, but we're all trying to do the best we can for our organization. And this is a game where right now the competition is so good, methods are so advanced, everybody's so thoughtful that we are just scratching and clawing for every inch. And sometimes that means waiting and playing the market for the best deal you can get, whether it's free agent or trade market. It's not good for anybody's quality of life. So it might be something where we should think about some collective solutions.
You were jumping out of your seat nodding when I asked the question.
Yeah, I love the idea. I mean, I think it's exciting, and look, it's great to hear Commissioner Manfred and Chris Marinak and Dan Halem and Morgan Sword and all the executives at baseball talk about all the different ideas that we could consider. And there's been discussion about the idea of deadlines and how we can improve the product at every level. So it's exciting. I just think it's one of the most exciting times in baseball, the trade deadline every year. It's really fun to watch the men and women in our front office operate. And I know it goes around the 29 other clubs, how intense a period of time that is in our industry. And if we could recreate that in the off season, I think that would be a great thing. People a lot smarter than me will figure out if it would have negative unintended consequences. That's probably the one thing you would worry about. But I just think from a fan's perspective, from the baseball industry perspective, it would create a lot of excitement for fans and for front offices in the off season.
All right, I want to wrap things up, but I want to do it like we do every year on this, and we'll let each of you go. Sam, you get to lead off. It was a rough year in a lot of ways. Baseball was probably the least of our worries, but baseball didn't help us any as far as getting through all this here. What do you say to fans? What do you say to season ticket holders, people watching on NESN, as far as their faith in this team and why they should stick with this club as you look to get it back on track?
Well, the first thing I would say is thank you for your loyalty, your support. We don't take it lightly. I've been here. This will be my 20th year with the franchise, and John Henry, Tom Werner, Mike Gordon, our entire partnership is committed to winning that 5th World Series championship and hopefully the 6th and the 7th. And so we're so grateful for your loyalty and your support, and look forward to a great 2021 and beyond. And I hope that everyone, all of our season ticket holder family, I hope everyone's safe and healthy. and surviving this crazy time for our country. And better days are ahead for the region on that front, and better days are definitely ahead for the Red Sox.
Chaim, you're still here, even though the first year started with the trade of a generational player, had a pandemic that shut everything down. You're still here, you're still smiling. Just talk a little about the work you've done and what you've seen from this fan base, from this front office, and why fans should have faith that this organization will get it back on track.
I was going to say, I just hope we're not doing some sort of Insta poll about how Red Sox Nation feels about that. But look,
Can we get that?
Sam really summed it up. The appreciation that we feel. Look, I got to see it as an opponent for so long. This fan base and how much they care, how invested they are, and really how much they understand about the game. And I know that obviously 2020 was no fun, and I know that in the course of accomplishing what we're trying to accomplish, some pieces of that are going to be really satisfying where something happens, whether it's on the field or a move we make, and you're like, I love that, and you're high-fiving the guy next to you, and sometimes there are going to be some things where you scratch your head or some things that are downright painful or that you don't like. And I just want to say how much we appreciate the passion, even if it's something where you don't understand a move or you don't like a move. But the thing that I would want everybody to know is that at the bottom of this, we are, and we've got, it's not just me, it's not just the folks that Sam mentioned, it's hundreds of people in this organization working tirelessly to get to that goal. And everything that we do, everything that we contemplate, everything that we decide to move forward with is towards that goal of building a team that every single year you can wake up, at this time of year and say, we got a chance to go all the way. And that is the goal. That's what Red Sox fans deserve. And everything we do is with that in mind. And, I'm so appreciative of our fans for hanging with us through a really tough year. And for showing that faith in us and knowing that that's what we're trying to accomplish.
All right, AC, you get to bat third in this lineup. That's pretty good. You won here as a player. You won here as a manager. Tell Red Sox fans, what they should feel and how you think you're going to get this going again as the manager of the Boston Red Sox.
Well, first things first. I want to thank Sam and Chaim for giving me the opportunity to be back with the organization. To the fans that are watching this, the same thing Sam told you guys and the same thing Chaim told you guys, that's the same message we get as a coaching staff for the players. We're here to win championships, but we have to be better, and I do believe we're better. And the passion that you guys have is what pushes us to work hard. Get up at 7 in the morning and think about baseball and try to get the team better. And I'm glad that I'm working here with the Red Sox. I love the passion. I love the expectations. And thank you for trusting this front office. Thank you for trusting the players. Thank you for trusting me. And we're not going to disappoint. From day one all the way to the end of the season, we're going to play hard. Just like Chaim said a little while ago, what Pedroia said 3 or 4 days ago, that's something we have to do, show up every day, work on your craft, and play like it's your last game of of your career. And if we do that, good things are going to happen. Look what happened with that kid, the little 5'6" kid that played in Anaheim and play all the way to the Yankee Stadium in 2019. That's the way we want to do it. And hopefully I see you guys sooner rather than later at Fenway Park to enjoy this program, this project, and we're going to be in a good position. And thank you very much for trusting us.
Great stuff, Alex. Sam, Chaim, thanks so much for the time. And all the season ticket holders, everybody watching, we thank you. Hopefully next year we'll do it at a casino again. We'll be at MGM Springfield, be able to go back into the crowd after with all the fans. But for now, we continue to do it this way. We thank you for watching this Red Sox Town Hall conversation presented by MasterCard. Go to Priceless.com to learn more on priceless experiences you can join at home. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.